Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to GEEXX Reads. Today I'm going to talk about the book With Blood Upon the Sand by Bradley P. Beauleu, an image of which you will see here. This is the sequel to the 12 Kings of Kai and is the second book in the Shattered Sands series. There will be some major spoilers from the previous book, 12 Kings of Kai, and a few minor spoilers for this book, as usual. So, from the previous book, and to build on the background story, in case you haven't read the first book or what have you, the city of Kai has 12 kings. Basically, 400 years ago, they were each individually granted specific abilities to defend the city from an invasion of the desert tribes. Since then, they have essentially become brutal dictators. There is a group called the Moonless Host, which is which wants to take down the 12 kings, and they're willing to do anything in order to do this. To give you an idea of what they're willing to do, at one point in the first book, there was one of the kings was in the marketplace in disguise. They managed to discover he was there. They boarded up the entrances to a building and set the building on fire, while there were other people inside. They're not concerned about how many people they kill, as long as they get to kill one of the kings, or all of them. Their goal is to kill all of them. But they are extremely brutal and ruthless. They will kill anyone in order to accomplish their goal. People are they consider basically everyone that is their ally, whether they know it or not, because they will kill them to achieve their goal of bringing down the 12 kings. Main character story is Cheetah, or Cheetah, I think it's Cheetah, Cheetah for short. In the first book, she is initially a gladiator in the arena who applies to be in the Blade Maidens. The Blade Maidens is the elite king's, the king's elite fighting force. All women considered daughters of the kings. She wants to infiltrate them in order to have a chance of killing the kings herself. Her mother's goal was to also bring down the kings, but she differs from the Moonless Host in that she's not as ruthless. She doesn't want to kill anyone in her path. She wants to achieve, this with as minimal loss of life as possible. So while she has the same goals as the Moonless Host, she does not wish to be as ruthless as them because it damages too many lives. She has more mercy than they do. Other characters are her lifelong friend, her childhood friend, Emery, or Amir, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, I know how it's spelled. A nobleman from a nearby city, her name is Ramad, who has sworn vengeance against the Moonless Host because they killed responsible for the death of his wife and daughter, in one of their many attempts to bring down the kings. They managed to, like I said, kill his wife and daughter. So a lot of moving parts. In the previous book, at the climax of the previous book, Cheetah is responsible for killing one of the kings, King Kulasan, known as the Wandering King. Each king has his own little special name, but manages to frame someone else for it. So she is granted admission to Blade Maidens and is somewhat trusted. Also, Hamzakir, who was a son of one of the kings, but also a very powerful mage, was freed, who had been imprisoned in the desert, was freed and handed over to Ramad and his sister, who is the daughter of the king of Khmer, another desert tribe. So, like I said, a lot of moving parts, a lot of characters involved. So, this book is a continuation of all those stories. You have Ramad and his sister-in-law. he married a princess, sister of Miriam. They have Hamzakir, and they're trying to bring him under their control or extract information from him. Cheetah has infiltrated the Blade Maidens and will continue her attempts to gain information. She wants information about her mother because her mother died when she was very young, and her mother kept her isolated from everyone, so she knows nothing of her family. So she is constantly searching for information about her past. Amir has joined the Moonless Host, and she also tries to find information about him. So, you know, we're learning about the plots of the Moonlit Host. We are learning about the plots of the kings. We are learning about Cheetah's plots and goals, and also Ramad, Miriam, and Hamzakir. We have all these moving pieces. You know, there are the leaders of the Moonless Host, Masid, who is directly responsible for the death of Ramad's wife and daughter, and the actual leader of the Moonless Host, a man named Ishak, I think. I'm pronouncing his name. I'm sure I'm pronouncing these names incorrectly. This book is themed about Middle Eastern mythology and has a Middle Eastern aesthetic to it. So I find that refreshing as a form of fantasy. But these plots keep moving forward. The story keeps moving forward. All these pieces are linked together. And there's 2 more books after this one, so you know all 12 kings aren't going to die in this book, if any. This book starts off very dark in a lot of ways. Best example I can give is The Empire Strikes Back, which is the second story in the original Star Wars trilogy, where things take a downward turn. Like that, you know, things do not go well for the rebels in that book, and things do not go well for Cheetah, or for Amir, or Ramad and his sister-in-law Miriam. Things do not go well for anyone at the start of this book. Without giving too much away, that may be too much of a spoiler. But they keep trying, which I guess is a good thing. But yeah, they do not do very well in the beginning. You know, the first book ends on a triumphant note, and then, you know, they have setbacks. They have hardships. Again, this book is long. This book is over 700 pages long, and it took me a long time to read. And pacing-wise, it starts off slow. The pacing does pick up as the story goes on and on. So it starts off slow and gets faster and faster. The pacing gets faster and faster until you reach the climax of this book as well. I find the characters in this book very compelling, because there really are no good guys. No one is pure. I mean, Cheetah has noble goals, but, you know, she struggles, you know, and because she is trying to maintain her guise, you know, her infiltration of the Blade Maidens, she is forced to do things that she finds, you know, abhorrent, because she has to maintain her secrets. And she also sees even more firsthand how the actions of the Moonless Host harm innocent people. You know, so while she may align with their goals, she finds herself at odds with their methods. And we see, you know, in the first book, the Blade Maidens were kind of some of the villains, as tools of the 12 kings. But Cheetah lives and trains with them and fights with them, and comes to respect some of them. So she is very conflicted in parts of this book, but she still has her goals. She still has but she knows that she might have to fight people that she deeply respects and admires in order to achieve those goals. And so she is a complex character, and the other characters are very complex as well. Ramat has sworn vengeance for the death of his wife and daughter, but what steps is he willing to take? What's going to happen to him on his journey of revenge? And Amir as well. You see these characters and you're supposed to sympathize with them, but at the same time, in order to achieve their goals, they have to do things that are morally reprehensible, and they realize it. So they realize that they are crossing lines that they would not otherwise have crossed. And so you get to see all these people. You get to see all the you see the good and bad sides of all these characters. Even some of the villains, you do get to see things from other points of view. You occasionally get to see things from the viewpoint of the 12 Kings. Some of them, not all of them. And maybe learn a little bit about them, their personalities, and there's a lot of gray area here. The 12 Kings, some of them think they're doing what's best for the city. They feel that, as the city's rulers, they don't feel themselves as tyrants. Not all of them, at least. The ones that we get to see. Some of them, they see themselves as emissaries of law and order. Villains don't think they're villains. And Cheetah's journey is also remarkable as well. I'm not sure we learn about her history and about her past and things that she didn't know about herself that we didn't learn in the first book. And I'm loath to spoil those. Although, I don't know. Just because I hate spoiling stories. I'm not sure how much more I can say to make this interesting to other people, because I do find this series very interesting. It's a different take from the standard sword and sorcery fantasy that we read. This is more based on Middle Eastern, as I said, aesthetics. The characters don't, the blade maidens don't have traditional swords, straight blade swords. They have samshears, or what you might call a falchion, depending on, or sabers, depending on. I don't know much about sword types beyond, to me I would have called this a falchion, but in the book they call it a samshear. So I don't know what the difference is between the two. They wear turbans and veils and desert robes, things of that nature, and they use terms that I'm not familiar with, that I'm guessing would be more aligned with Middle Eastern mythology and folklore. And that's one of the things that got me to buy the first book, and I was really interested, and I really looked forward to reading this book, and I'm glad I did. It just took me forever because, like I said, it starts off slow, which makes it hard to lose myself in it and spend lots of time reading. But by the end, by like the second, by like the 400 page, it's like, man, I'm really interested. I want to keep reading. I was like, oh crap, I got like 300. I've got a full book left to read. Page 400, I've still got another 300 pages, to go through. So it was, kind of daunting in ways that some of the books that are just as long or longer have not been. I'm talking about The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. But yes, I did enjoy this book. I am looking forward to picking up the third book in the series. And I would recommend it. I recommend starting with the 12 Kings of Sharakai, even though I've spoiled the ending, and moving on to With Blood Upon the Sand. It is very interesting, and I'm definitely hooked on the story, and I'm hoping that it continues to be this good. As always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.